Okay, Mr. Forte, you ready? All right, we are back on YouTube, and we have Mr. Franklin in court with his colleague, Mr. Church. Ms. Campbell has been patiently waiting online over the last hour and a half or so. You still with us, Ms. Campbell?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, and your mom is with us as well. We are ready to go forward with the situation. Mr. Franklin, is this a non-negotiated plea that we're moving forward with?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Ms. Campbell, are you able to see us?
No, I can't see you guys. I can see Miss Crawford. Okay, I can see. Yeah.
Me, actually, you gotta change the name. My name is not Michelle, but I'll fix that in just a minute. We can't see you. Are you able to get, I think real briefly, when you first signed on around 9, we could see you. There's mom. Hi, mom. But it would be helpful.
If you can see me, yeah, I'm putting my hair in a ponytail. I didn't want to look crazy.
Okay. I wouldn't worry about that, but however you're gonna look, you're gonna look. Although it's being streamed live on YouTube, so anyone around the world can see you. We have a little echo. It went away. Great. So Ms. Campbell, and when I say Ms. Campbell, I'm referring to Tashina Campbell, unless Tashina Campbell, your mother, is adding something to the equation. But for the record is clear, any reference I have to Ms. Campbell is Tashina Campbell, and I'll be specific if I'm referring to your mother. Ms. Campbell, we're here to take a plea in your case. You're charged with criminal damage to property in the 2nd degree and battery. That's 1 felony and 1 misdemeanor. Are you ready to go forward with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I need to ask you a couple questions, and once I've done that, Ms. Hall, the prosecutor, is going to put you under oath and will be underway with the proceeding. You are appearing remotely, which is okay in these complicated times, but I need to make sure that you understand that you have an absolute right to be here in court with your lawyer and the prosecutor and with me. You understand you have that right?
Yes, sir.
And you are choosing voluntarily to appear remotely. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. You also have the right to have your lawyer, Mr. Franklin, right next to you, so that if you had a question, you could lean over and whisper something in his ear and he could give you the answer. But you're waiving that right. He's still here. He can see you and hear you, but you guys aren't going to be able to confer quite as readily. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
You're okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Do you have a remote device with you? A phone or something?
Yeah, I put my phone on and my face is on the screen now.
Great.
And I turned the audio off on my phone and just go to the phone mic.
Perfect. So, Ms. Campbell, if something comes up where you and Mr. Franklin need to speak privately, I can move you and Mr. Franklin's little tiles on the screen into a private area where I can't hear you. No one can except for Mr. Franklin. So Mr. Franklin knows this, and if something comes up and you two need to speak, I'll put you in what we call a breakout room, and it'll be just the two of you, and I'll have Mr. Franklin step outside. We did that with the previous case, and we can do it with yours if we need to. Will you let me know if that needs to happen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Then I think we're ready to proceed. Ms. Hall is going to put you under oath. Once you're under oath, it's important that all your answers are complete and truthful. It's also important that you let me or Mr. Franklin know if you have questions of your own. I need to be comfortable that you've understood all the things we've talked about. It's not meant to be complicated, but every once in a while, lawyers have a way of saying things that are more complicated than they need to be. So if you're confused by something or it's not going the way you thought, will you let me know?
Okay.
Great. Ms. Hall?
Thank you. Ms. Campbell, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you should give in the matter currently before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may go ahead. Please state your true, correct, and legal name.
Tashina Denise Campbell.
Are you at this time taking or under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine?
No, ma'am.
Is there any medication that you normally take that you have not been given today?
No, ma'am.
How old are you and how far have you gone to school?
I'm 26 and I didn't hear the rest of the question.
How far have you gone to school?
How far am I in school?
How far, did you complete high school or did you go to some college?
I completed high school, yes.
Okay, and that's where you stopped?
The only school I did after that was bartending school.
Thank you. Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you've been charged with battery, substantial harm, physical harm, and criminal damage to property in the second degree?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to those charges? And if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney about all the facts and circumstances known to you regarding the charges in this indictment, including any potential defenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need more time to discuss this case with your attorney?
No, ma'am.
Are you satisfied with his services?
Yes, I am.
Have you had a time to discuss the indictment and the charges that the state is moving forward against you with your attorney, Mr. Franklin?
I didn't hear you.
Have you had time to discuss these charges with your attorney?
Have I had time to discuss these charges with my attorney?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you understand the charges that the state is moving forward against you?
Yes.
Do you understand the rights that you're giving up by taking a plea test?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Franklin, I'm sorry, counsel, do you waive on the reading of the indictment?
So what?
Do you waive any and all defects in the indictment, including with respect to defendant's act?
For purposes of this plea only as well.
Ms. Campbell, have you been arrested on these charges? Ms. Campbell, you hear me?
I'm sorry.
Have you been arrested on these charges?
Yes, I have.
The state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you or your attorney know of any outstanding warrants related to these charges?
We are not aware of any outstanding warrants related to this case.
Ms. Campbell, have your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence to the charges that you're pleading to?
It's muffled. I can't hear. It's muffled.
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence that you're pleading to?
Yes.
The minimum and maximum sentence for criminal damage to property in the second degree is 1 to 5 years to serve. And the maximum for battery, substantial physical harm is 12 months to serve. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if your guilty plea is a blind plea, also called a non-negotiated plea, the state can still make a recommendation to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you discussed this offer with your attorney?
Yes, I have.
The state's recommendation for criminal damage to property in the second degree is 5 years to serve 6 months. And the state's recommendation for battery substantial physical harm is 12 months probation plus restitution in the amount of $666.89. But the court does not have to accept that recommendation. The court can impose any sentence authorized by law, including a higher sentence than that recommended by the state, up to the maximum on each of these charges. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand that this is a guilty plea, which is permanently recorded on your criminal history?
Yes.
We're going to tender as a first offender. She has no prior criminal history.
Ms. Calvin, do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction as well as other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
Do you understand if you're currently on probation or parole, your probation or parole may be revoked based on you entering a guilty plea today?
Yes.
Do you understand if you're placed on probation of any kind, you cannot violate any criminal laws of any governmental unit or any special conditions of probation without being subject to revocation for the balance of the sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you're not allowed to possess or use a firearm while on probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand if you're not a United States citizen, a guilty plea conviction will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, just as a conviction at trial would, and this is true regardless of any advice by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand there may be other adverse or unfavorable consequences as a result of this guilty plea, just as there would be following a conviction from a trial? For example, your guilty plea may affect your right to vote, your right to hold public office, your right to serve on a jury, the right to obtain a passport, the right to receive, possess, or transport a firearm, or the ability to obtain employment.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a felony, if you use, receive, possess, or transport a firearm, you will be guilty of a felony, which may carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in prison?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking to be treated as a first offender under the provisions of the First Offender Act?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever pleaded guilty or know of continuing to, or ever been convicted of a felony in the state of Georgia or any other jurisdiction?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been sentenced for any crime, felony, or misdemeanor under the First Offender Act?
No, ma'am.
Has your lawyer explained the First Offender Act to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you violate the terms of the first offender sentence or commit a new offense while on first offender probation, your first offender status could be revoked, you could be adjudicated guilty, and you could be resentenced up to the maximum sentence for each charge in this indictment?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses, including any mental health defenses, by entering a plea of guilty?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you went to trial, you would have the right to see, hear, and confront witnesses called to testify against you, and the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up the following rights: the right to a trial by jury, the right to remain silent and not incriminate yourself, the right to confront witnesses against you, the right to the assistance of counsel hired by you or to court-appointed counsel, the right to the presumption of innocence, the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence, the right to subpoena witnesses and compel the production of evidence, the right to have the charges against you proved beyond a reasonable doubt, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after a trial.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea?
No. No, ma'am.
Is it your decision to waive these rights and enter a guilty plea because you're in fact guilty?
I wasn't aware that I was entering a guilty plea today.
What did you think was happening today?
That I was going to get sentenced.
You may get sentenced today, but I can't sentence you unless you're entering a plea in your case. And it sounds like you want to plead pursuant to the first offender statute. And you and I will talk about that, but we really can't talk about sentencing until I've accepted your plea, because it wouldn't be appropriate for me to sentence someone who hasn't entered a plea.
So I need to plead guilty for you to proceed?
Well, you need to do what you think is the right thing to do. And if that happens to be entering a guilty plea, then we can talk about sentencing. But if you tell Ms. Hall and me and Mr. Franklin here on the record, I'm not entering a guilty plea, that's okay. That's a right that you have. But then we're going to stop, and we can move your case to a trial calendar. That would be the other thing we need to do, because the state's charged you, and either you resolve the charges by some type of plea, or the state dismisses them, and I'm not hearing the state say they're dismissing the charges, or you go to trial and you have a jury or a judge decide what happened in the case, and then ultimately the judge will sentence you. So right now you're at the crossroads of, are you going to enter a plea and resolve it that way, or do you want your case to move onward towards trial? And hopefully you and Mr. Franklin talked about some of that. I suspect you did. But you need to let us know what you're comfortable doing right now. Now isn't the right.
I'm going to enter a guilty plea.
And Ms. Campbell, just in case you need to step out, we need to talk one-on-one, we have that option as well.
Do you want to talk with Mr. Franklin for a minute, or are you good?
Yeah, let me talk to him real quick just so I can understand again what's.
This is why we have that opportunity. So I'm gonna try not to break the computer here, and I will move.
I don't need long. I just got 2 questions.
Okay, well, he's the man with the answers. So let me see if I can get more people in here.
Okay.
You'll know because it'll just be the 2 of you. You're gonna have to push a button on here we go. That will move you to that room. And once you're there, when you're done, you need to come on back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We'll see what happens. Ms. McCauley, to what do we owe pleasure?
Oh, I just make socialize.
All right.
I have gotten small, but I actually have a consent form. You want to take a look?
In one of my cases?
No, it's a CP case.
Oh, sure.
It's by consent, it's an aggravated battery, but the injuries are not
Aggravated.
aggravated. And he has no prior violent felony convictions. He is currently in full disclosure. He has a BGSA, that he might be on probation for aggravated felony.
Okay.
Did you work with Saul?
Yes.
Yeah, he's checking on this one
Okay.
to see if he's still on probation.
Is he over there now?
He is.
What's the case number?
It is 20 CP 192081, Rodney Mills. And there's actually 2 Rodney Mills, and they're putting in jail. And they're both trying to play the better.
Let's hope the right one gets out. So here he is, and someone said no bond.
Based on nature.
Yeah, Jeff Manning in the community. Mr. Pinckney is the guy who was supposedly injured by Mr.
Yes,
Nall.
and I have called, I've spoken with his wife. I've not spoken with Mr. Pinckney, but I did confirm that she was okay with bond.
Okay. Mr. Nall's address.
He's gonna say Jessica Taylor as wife is at Fallen Water.
Okay, that's the address, but it's also what he has for his mom. Maybe it's a big happy household.
Yeah.
You have the money, cash app. Sounds like there were not weapons apart from the hand.
No, there's no evidence. It's $20,000 for his bond.
Sure, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. What's these ones for? So is it a more complete statement to say victim James Pinckney was notified of the conditions and has no objection?
Yes.
Or he was, okay.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Okay.
Okay.
You bet. Good seeing you. It was written yesterday. Wow.
I haven't seen them in the office. I don't know where they are.
They're running around wings.
ready to proceed.
Okay. And let's get back on the record. We good, Mr. Forte? All right, back on the record in Campbell's case. Mr. Franklin?
Yeah, so the thing that we're gonna add, we're gonna request to plead it as an applicant.
Okay.
And I'll explain the reason.
All right, we'll work through that. Do you have any objection to an offer of plea? That's all.
No, it's already non-negotiable. I'm fine with it.
Okay, we'll work through that. Ms. Campbell, you've moved. You're outdoors now.
Yes, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. I'm stressed out.
Well, I understand it's a stressful time. Are you okay proceeding?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay, did you have enough time to speak with Mr. Franklin?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and did he answer the questions you had?
He did.
Okay, so it sounds like you are interested in going forward, but now, along with maybe being a first offender plea, it's going to be what we call an offered plea, where you are telling me that you don't necessarily agree with all the things the state said you did, but you think it's in your best interest to move forward with the plea. Does that describe your situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that a little bit more. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. So you may have a couple different questions to ask now, Ms. Hall, but back to you.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell,
Yes.
Are you pleading guilty because you have decided that it's in your best interest to do so?
Yes.
Are you aware that even if you do not admit guilt, this is a plea of guilty and places you in the same position as if you were convicted by a jury at a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plead in indictment number 19-SC-172174? How do you plead to the charges of criminal damage to property in the second degree and battery substantial physical harm?
Guilty.
Is this guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charges against you?
Yes.
Do you understand that you only have a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you understand that you only have 12 months from today for a misdemeanor charge and 4 years from today for a felony charge to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, when it's appropriate, the victim is watching live on YouTube, but Ms. Rolak has a statement to read.
Okay,
Um,
so why don't you give me the recitation of facts, and when you're done with either the questions you have for Ms. Campbell or the things you want to share with me, then I'll turn to Ms. Rowland, and we'll do that, and then I'll turn to Ms. Crawford, and Mr. Frank.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm done with you, questions with you, Ms. Campbell. Your Honor, the state is unaware of any felony convictions by this defendant, although she does have, and the reason why we're asking for the 5-6 months is because she has 4 prior battery convictions that concerns us, especially with the facts of this case.
Okay.
So had we moved forward, the state would have proven that on August the 18th of 2019 at 691 14th Street Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia, in Fulton County. Bear with me, Ms. Forte, it's a lot here. Officers were dispatched to that location in regards to a female and a male in a physical altercation at that location that was going in and out of the road. Upon arrival, the officers observed several bystanders standing around a vehicle in the lane of travel with the hazards on. Officers spoke with a witness who stated he overheard a verbal altercation taking place outside. Upon looking outside, he noticed a female and a male in a physical altercation. The witness observed a female begin to assault the passenger of that vehicle and then turned to argue with the driver. The female jumped on top of the vehicle's hood and began to damage the windshield. The witness stated that the female got off of the hood and jumped inside of the driver's seat of that vehicle, attempting to drive off. The driver then grabbed the female, the driver being the victim in this case, grabbed the female and pulled her outside of the vehicle, tossing her to the ground. The female then stood up, I'm sorry, the defendant then stood up and began to attack the driver and bit the driver on the left side of his body. The witness also observed this encounter happen and was able to separate both parties until the police arrived. Officers spoke with the driver, the victim in this case, Abdul, last name Haiti, Haei. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, Mr. Abdul, who stated he was dropping off a customer as he worked for Uber. And he stated that when he arrived at the location to drop off his customer, the female approached and began arguing with him for no reason. The victim stated that he seen and was treated on the scene by Grady EMS. Officers attempted to speak with the defendant, Ms. Campbell. The defendant stated that she was at the location for a pool party and stated that her purse and all of her belongings were inside of the purse were missing. Ms. Campbell, the defendant, was extremely irate and very uncooperative. The defendant continued to blame everyone she observed while in the police vehicle, stating those are the ones who did this to me and took my stuff. The defendant was completely unaware of what had happened and continued to talk about her missing items. Upon arriving to the precinct, the officer stated that the defendant decided to urinate on the floor. The defendant then continued to be extremely irate and began to bang her head against the wall, where she had to be physically restrained. The defendant was transported to Grady detention. That is all from the state, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Rolak, it sounds like Mr. Hadi is participating remotely. He may be watching and listening to what's going on. You have a statement from him, or is he going to be saying something?
I have a short written statement, Judge.
Okay, when you're ready.
Good morning, Judge McBurney. My life has changed completely since the defendant assaulted me. My physical body, my mind, my job, everything has been affected. I no longer feel safe to do my job, and I pray that justice is served. I don't want to have her do this to anyone else. Thank you for your time. Yes, sir, Abdul Hadi.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Hadi, for sharing those words through Ms. Rolak. I'm sorry for what you went through. Also, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Hall research suggested that Ms. Campbell does not have any felony convictions here in Georgia. What does your record show?
That's correct. No record found for Ms. Campbell.
Okay. If she did have misdemeanor conviction for battery, would you see that, or you're only able to see felonies?
I'm only able to see felony charges.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Hall, your review of the GCIC showed that Ms. Campbell had up to 4 prior battery convictions?
Yes, Your Honor, 3 in Georgia and 1 in Las Vegas.
Okay. Mr. Franklin.
Thank you, Your Honor. To begin, I'd like to address the history of misdemeanors that the state put forth regarding Ms. Campbell. In my discussion with Ms. Campbell, what I've learned is that once upon a time, she was involved in a domestic violence relationship where both people have several charges. So it's not as if she has a litany of things, quote unquote, going out to attack people who cause others harm. Additionally, what she explained to me is that it was kind of a party setting. She believed that somebody had given her some drugs that she was not aware of or were aware of the impact of. I requested medical records from Grady Hospital when she was admitted. Can't confirm that she was severely dehydrated, which I think is a symptom of things like ecstasy, big significant dosage. And there was an indication that benzodiazepine were detected, opiates were detected, but the results were not confirmed. So it said detected but unconfirmed. So that left a hole in terms of what we would be able to put forth in terms of evidence at trial. If we can't prove it, strongly that she was in fact under stuff, that certainly would affect our ability to have a strong defense. So I do believe that we have enough to kind of assume that maybe something did happen. I believe this is supported by the video of the incident. We were able to watch it on YouTube. She suffered a great deal of harm just from reputation because everybody has seen it. People know her. I think it was on a hip hop website, World Star or something like that.
They knew Ms. Campbell before, or the behavior she was exhibiting for whatever reason was remarkable enough that the video circulated. The headline would be "Woman Goes Crazy," something like that.
So whoever had the video should send, like, people oftentimes send videos of people fighting one another.
Yeah.
So they just send it and say that basically woman is acting crazy.
Okay.
And then people who know her, who visited the website, saw it, recognized her. And now she has received the celebrity treatment that she doesn't want.
Right.
And I believe it's not caused by her own actions.
Well, her actions, but not necessarily her own volition.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so it's an outward plea to the extent that we're not contesting that, Mr. Adi was injured or bitten. There's certainly damage to the vehicle. And we're apologetic for that. It's just that we don't think it's her conscious Tashina Campbell mind that led to it. Accordingly, what we are requesting, being the felony portion of the stuff is just a criminal damage, quote unquote, just a criminal damage. We're asking for 2 years of probation. There's about $666 of restitution to be made. We're asking that her probation be suspended or terminated upon completion of the payment of restitution and a completion of an anger management plan. And we're asking that her probation fees be paid. To the extent that Mr. Abdullahi can be made whole, these are things that we believe are more responsible. Incarceration.
Sure. Ms. Rolak, are you in a position to communicate with Mr. Adi right now, or he is merely watching?
We're texting back and forth, Judge.
Can you say that one more time?
We are texting back and forth.
Great. Can you find out if he is still an Uber driver, and if he is exclusively an Uber driver, or if he also is a Lyft driver? Please.
And I know the answer to that.
Great. What's the answer?
He was a Lyft driver since this has happened. COVID crisis happened later, and so he has not been able to work since then. And that has been a real hardship for him.
Okay. If he goes back to work, would he once again be a Lyft driver?
I would have to ask that. He says yes, Judge.
Okay. And Ms. Campbell is a stranger to Mr. Adi, other than this encounter?
This is correct.
Okay, thank
He
you. Ms.
doesn't
Roland.
know.
Franklin, in your exchanges with your client, do you have any concern that there is an undiagnosed mental health issue at play? Or it seems to you that this situation on August 18th of last year and this behavior that would suggest that someone wasn't in control of one's actions was the brain of smoke or whatever?
I believe it's an isolated incident brought forth by substances.
Hey, Ms. Campbell, I'm gonna need you to maybe stay in one place. When you open the doors, it makes a lot of noise and it's hard for the court reporter to hear things, okay?
Okay, I apologize. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize, just find a spot. Stay there for the rest of our conversation. There's not a whole lot left.
Okay.
Franklin, anything more you wanted to add?
No, I will add that she's currently employed with Wendy's.
Okay.
She makes pretty good money, so I believe she'll be able to make restitution quickly,
Okay,
fairly quickly. But waiving the fee was something like that.
sure. Ms. Campbell, I've got a couple questions for you, and then if there's anything you want to say to me or anyone who might be listening into this conversation, you'll have a chance to do that. So Mr. Franklin tells me you're working. Where's the Wendy's you're working?
I work in Stockbridge on Rock Prairie Road. I'm the shift manager.
Okay, and how many days a week do you work?
I work 5 days a week. I'm usually off 2 days. Sometimes I have to pull an extra day if one of the managers call off.
Okay, and what 5 days of the week do you work? Is it
It
Monday?
I'm always working on Monday. Usually my off days are like Thursday and Saturday, but this week is Thursday and Sunday.
Okay. Do you have an ability to work with the manager to have your off days be consecutive? So you're off Tuesday, Wednesday, or you're off Friday, Saturday?
She will work with me. My manager and I are very close and she helps me out a lot. So she'll work with me with my schedule.
Okay. And how long have you been at Wendy's?
Since the COVID-19, I was a bartender at first, and when the COVID-19 hit, I lost my job, so I had to go somewhere else. And so I applied at Wendy's.
Where were you a bartender?
Skybox.
And how long have you been there?
I was just there for 2 weeks.
Oh, you just gotten started.
Yeah,
Are
I
they,
had just graduated bartending school and everything.
are they reopening?
They reopened, but they don't need any bartenders right now because they don't have a lot of business right now.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Hadi is not someone you knew before the night this happened.
No, sir.
And you hadn't called for a Lyft or an Uber when this happened.
No, sir. I didn't even have possession of any of my things. I went to jail with everything that was in that video. That's what I went to jail with, what was on my body. Everything was missing. My phone, ID, social security card, money, purse, clothes, everything.
Okay, I didn't see the video, so I don't know what you were wearing, but my question, it sounds like your answer to my question is you had not called a Lyft, so you didn't think Mr. Hadi was there to drive you somewhere.
Right. I didn't call a Lyft or anything.
Okay, all right. Anything you want to say?
I would like to apologize. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I would like to apologize to the Uber driver. I was not myself that day. I was drugged. I have text messages from the guy. He's not admitting to him drugging me, but he's saying that he didn't know that his friends were going to do that. I do have those text messages as well. So I do want to let him know that I apologize for that. I don't use Lyft or Uber anymore. I have my own car, and that's not me. I don't attack people for no reason. My past record, it was because I was in a bad relationship, and we were both. It was a very toxic relationship. So I do want to let him know that I apologize, and that's not who I am, and I'm completely embarrassed.
Okay.
And I do not talk to that guy no more. Or hang out with him or anything that did this to me.
That sounds like a good choice.
I lost my dad in jail when I was locked up for this.
How long were you in jail?
I was in jail for 3 months.
Oh, okay. Because you had no bond, or the bond that they set was too high for you to make?
I had a bond, but we didn't pay my bond until my dad fell into the coma. And so I had the traffic ticket in Pike County. So that's why I sat so long, because we didn't want to pay the bond. And then I get released, and then I can just go over to Pike County and pay my ticket off. But when my dad fell into the coma, that's when we had paid the bond so we can get the process moved. So if something something happened to him, which he did, I could get out of jail in time. But I didn't. He died the day before I got out.
I'm sorry to hear that. So you were arrested the night this happened, and basically through part of November, you were in jail.
I'm sorry.
You were arrested the night this happened, the night you jumped on the car and you bit Mr. Hodge. You were arrested and you stayed in jail from that night for 3 months. So you didn't really get out till November.
Well, I got out, yeah. And I was in the hospital for 2 days before they took me to jail.
Okay.
I didn't go straight to jail.
Got it. All right. All right. Do you have any questions about anything?
No, sir.
All right. Well, Ms. Campbell, I need to cover a couple things with you. You are asking to be treated as a first offender. You are eligible for that because you don't have any felony convictions. The benefit of being sentenced as a first offender is that it's not a conviction now. If I accept your plea, it will not be a conviction. So if you are applying for a different job in the future or trying to move up a committee and have to fill out any paperwork that says you've been convicted of a felony, the truthful answer will be no, I have not. And that will remain true as long as you are in good standing with your sentence. And if you successfully complete your sentence, then the event, I don't want to use the word expunged because it's not quite like that, and you and Mr. Franklin can talk about that process later, but it is effectively removed from your record so that if a future employer runs your history, this wouldn't show up because it was never a conviction. So that's a good thing for someone your age with a promising career. That's the benefit of first offender. The risk of first offender is that if you were to get in trouble while you are under sentence, and it could be a misdemeanor, so you could get into a different relationship and it becomes toxic and you get in a fight and get arrested. If you were to get in trouble for something, that new case, I would be alerted to that new case and you would likely be brought back in front of me. And if I felt that you had misused this opportunity being a first offender, without a trial, I could resentence you. And in this case, it could be up to 6 years, 5 for the damage to the car and 1 for the attack on Mr. Hodge. And you could do up to 6 years. I don't know that it would be that, but you need to know that without a trial, because you've already resolved this case in your plea, you get a hearing, you have a lawyer, but it wouldn't be a full-blown trial. If I found that you had done this new thing, whatever it might be, I could take away your first offender and resentence you. That's a risk, but you know you best of all. And if you think that that's a manageable risk, then first offender may make sense. I need to make sure you understand the benefit of first offender and the risk of first offender. Do you feel like you do?
Yes, I do.
Do you want to be sentenced as a first offender?
I would like to be sentenced as the first offenders.
Okay. An offered plea is, as I mentioned earlier, but I need to repeat it now. When someone says, Judge, either I don't think I did what the state says, or frankly, I don't remember based on what was going on. I may have done it, but I can't in good faith say I did all these things because I don't remember. But I still want to work this case out, Judge. I don't want to go to trial. I don't want the jury to see that video and run that risk of a jury finding me guilty, and who knows what would happen then. So it's also known as a best interest plea. Is that what you're trying to do here, that you think it's in your best interest to enter a plea today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Then I will accept your plea. I do find that there's a factual basis. As I said, I have not seen the video, but it sounds like the video shows a whole lot of things that you're not proud of, that you're ashamed of, but would also make pretty clear that Mr. Hodge was pretty much minding his own business. And the next thing he knows, you're on his car, and then you're in his car, and then you're biting him, and none of that.
I'm sorry, Judge. I don't even know how I got there. I don't even know how I ended up in connection with the Uber driver.
Okay.
And that video makes me cry every time I see it.
Well, I'm not gonna make you watch it, and I'm not gonna watch it, but, what I'm saying is, it sounds like the evidence would be pretty clear that, whether you meant to do it or not, whether you were in control of yourself or not, you were doing these things. And, real importantly, Mr. Hadi was just an innocent guy minding his own business, and then you're messing with his car, and then you're messing with him. So I do find that, the state could prove its case. I also find, Ms. Campbell, that your plea, your offered plea, your first offender plea, is knowing and voluntary. Knowing means you've understood all the things we talked about, and if you didn't, you had time to talk to Mr. Franklin about them so he could explain it to you. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. Voluntary means that even though you may not be real excited about what's happening, you may be real embarrassed about what you did, you are nonetheless going forward with this plea because it's what you want to do to sort the case out. Is that correct?
yes,
All right, then I'm going to accept your plea. I'm sentencing you pursuant to the Probation Options Management Act. And what that means, Ms. Campbell, is that while you are on probation, if you have a technical problem with your case, maybe you moved, you don't tell probation that you moved and they have some trouble finding you, that'd be a bad thing for you to do, but you and probation will work that out. You don't have to come back in front of me. The only time you and I would be getting together again would be if you were arrested for something new. And then, as we've discussed, that could jeopardize your whole first offender status. So what I'm hearing you say to me, even though you haven't said these words exactly, is you're done getting in trouble. You're done going to events where you may drink something and the next thing you know, you're on the
I
ground.
don't drink no more. I don't drink no more. Nobody is getting the opportunity to ever put anything in my system anymore.
Okay. So that's how Probation Options Management Act works. Glad to hear you're working again. And here's what we're going to do in terms of your sentence. I'm going to sentence you on count 1. You all still have the indictment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
we need to cover one thing about that before we get to the sentence. I don't mean to leave you hanging. But the indictment, which has the 2 charges in it, it's the formal charging document. If you were here in court, Ms. Campbell, you'd be signing the indictment as a blank for you to sign, like, holding it up right there, where it says defendant. But you're not here, and so I'm going to ask you if you authorize Mr. Franklin to sign the indictment on your behalf. May he do that?
Yes, he can sign the indictment on my behalf.
Okay, so he's signing it for himself, and he's your lawyer, and he's talked to you about the case. He's signing it on behalf of you. Ms. Paul will sign it, and then I will take it from there. In terms of your sentence, Ms. Campbell, I am sentencing you on count 1, that's the felony count, to 3 years probation. Count 2, I'm sentencing you to 12 months. That will be running concurrently, meaning at the same time with count 1. So it's a total of a 3-year sentence. There are going to be certain important special conditions for your probation. You need to listen to me closely as to what they are. The first and most important is no contact with Mr. Hadi. I know you don't know him, so this should be pretty easy. But if for some strange reason you're walking down the street and you recognize that the guy walking towards you is that gentleman, you need to turn around and walk away. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Number 2, you're going to pay $667 in restitution. 667. You do not have to pay that all at once. You'll pay it as you are able. But if you're working, probation will be talking to you about what you're earning, and they will be requiring that you pay a reasonable amount of what you earn each month or week or whatever you agree to probation to Mr. Hadi. You will do nothing directly to Mr. Hadi. You'll get the money to probation. And
Okay.
they'll get the money to him. So you don't need to worry, Mr. Hadi, about having contact with Ms. Campbell. She will pay as she is able to probation, and probation will have Mr. Hadi's contact information. They'll get the money to Mr. Hadi. Another special condition of your probation, Ms. Campbell, is that you will take an anger management course. You can talk with probation about that. They have a bunch of different options, but I think that light of some of what you were explaining to me in terms of your past relationship, that would be a good plan. And I think it will address some of the issues that may be behind everything that's been going on. Another special condition is that you may not ride in a Lyft, LYFT, Lyft vehicle while you're under sentence. I heard you say you got your own car, and that's great. That you don't drink, that's your choice. If for some reason you need to get a ride share, you need to do it through Uber, not Lyft, because I want to avoid the freak situation where you might just say, hey, I'm gonna order me a Lyft, and it's Mr. Heidi who responds. Not fair to him, not fair to you. So.
And
Yes.
that's another thing, Judge. I don't even use Lyft. Before I didn't have a car, I didn't use Lyft at all. I'm a Uber member. I don't use Lyft at all. I don't even have the app. So that's why I'm like, I don't even know how I got in contact with him.
Well, I don't think you got in contact with him. I think Mr. Heidi was showing up to drop someone off or pick someone else up. And you were in the zone you were in, and we've already talked about that. And he basically was in the wrong place at the wrong time while you were working through what you were working through. So I don't mean to suggest that you reached out to Mr. Heidi or you called the Lyft. I do mean to tell you that you will not be ordering up a Lyft while you're under sentence, okay?
Okay.
Here's the last special condition. It's the one that's gonna be most momentous for you for the first 4 weeks of your sentence. You're gonna spend 4 weekends in jail. But weekends are gonna be a flexible term because you're gonna need to figure out from your employer when you can get 4 two-day periods off. And you're gonna let Mr. Franklin know what those dates are, because I'm gonna write it into your sentence, so it'll be real clear. Ms. Campbell is gonna report to the jail at 5 o'clock or whatever we agree on date X, to spend the weekend in jail, and then she'll get out. You're gonna do that for 4 consecutive weekends. But I wanna be clear, when I say weekend, I'm not requiring it to be Saturday, Sunday, but it's consecutive days. So you work with your employer and figure out the next 4 two-day breaks you can get. And those need to be within the next month or so. And you're gonna get those dates to Mr. Franklin. He'll get them to me, and then I'll be able to sign your sentence, because that'll be a special condition of probation. So
I'm sorry. So it's just, so I need 2 back-to-back off days?
correct.
Okay.
But you need 4 sets of 2 back-to-back off days.
Okay, I got you. All right.
I call them weekends. They don't need to be Saturday only. That is not important. But it needs to be 2 consecutive days, since you need to get 4 sets of back-to-back off days between now and the end of July. You give those to Mr. Franklin, and I'm gonna write them into your sentence, and those will be the 4, we're calling them weekends, that you will be going to jail. I need to let you know, that's a lot less than what I was going to do, because I didn't realize up front that you've already spent 3 months in jail in connection with what you did. I think that's an appropriate amount of time. I think Mr. Heidi is appropriately upset and hurt and frightened by what happened. It must have been real disturbing for him. And I think this is a way to sort of put a final punctuation mark on it. So you're gonna pay the restitution, you're gonna take the anger management course, you have the 4 weekends in jail. And I will tell you, your probation is gonna remain reporting even if you complete paying the restitution. Just wanna make sure you're in a good spot. I'm gonna waive your probation supervision fees as long as the restitution is unpaid. So you don't need to worry, because they're not big numbers, but you do, someone who's on probation does have to pay a supervision fee. But you will not have to pay that supervision fee if the restitution is unpaid. But once you pay it, you will not have to worry about restitution anymore, and you can be focused on whatever you want to do next in your life.
Okay.
Said a lot. Let me make sure the lawyers are okay with this, and then I'll make sure you're okay with it, Mr. Campbell. Mr. Franklin, any questions or concerns?
I understand it. I just want to make sure, since it's different than what I discussed from what the state totally offered and what I said I was going to argue for, I want to make sure that she knows if she needs to ask me any additional questions, we can break out again.
Sure. Ms. Campbell, is there anything about what I just explained your sentence is going to be that you want to speak privately with Mr. Franklin about?
No, I understand.
Okay. Ms. Hall, do you have any questions or any other conditions you think ought to be involved?
Nothing,
Okay.
nothing to say.
Ms. Campbell, you have a long, bright future ahead of you. I'm impressed that you went to a trade school and you were ready to apply that trade through no fault of your own. That job ended. But it sounds like you have learned some important lessons from this situation. I'm sorry that the result of it was that you weren't there when your father passed. That's a heavy burden that you bear. I'm also sorry for what Mr. Hadi went through. And of course, that's something you did to him. I know it wasn't what you meant to do, but it's something that you did do to him. So we're striking a balance here, but most of all, I want Mr. Hadi to be able to move on with his life and soon enough for you to be able to pick up the pieces, Ms. Campbell, and head in the healthy direction that you're going to head in. And I hope that's what happens. Do you have any questions about anything, Ms. Campbell?
No, thank you. And I just want to make sure he know I'm really sorry.
I think he's now heard that twice, and I hope he listens closely. You have an important to do, and I'm going to give you only 24 hours to take care of it, and that's to get to Mr. Franklin the dates that you can take off from work. Because I need to sign your sentence, and I want to do that by the end of business tomorrow, that's Friday. But I can't do it if I don't have those dates from Mr. Franklin. So if you don't get that information to him, then what I'm going to do is pick the dates for you, and you'll just have to deal with it. So I want to give you time. Is 24 hours enough time to work with your manager, or do you need more time?
To be honest, no, because I will have to call. She already have her schedule set up for next week. So she'll have to, when she go into work in the morning, she will have to look at the schedule and see what she can rearrange. So she won't be able to change the schedule until tomorrow. So can I get 48 hours?
Why don't we just say by Monday? I don't plan on coming in on Saturday or signing sentence. So
Okay.
you let Mr. Franklin know by Monday. You can let him know before, if it's going to be emailing him or texting him. But by close of business Monday, by 5 o'clock Monday, I'm going to be signing your sentence. And
Okay.
if I have the dates that work for you, those will be the dates we put in there. If I don't, I'm just going to pick. You report on Friday by 5 o'clock, you get out Sunday 5 o'clock for 4 weekends starting in a week or so. So I'm giving you the chance to get the dates that work best for you and your employer. And you can sort that out between now and Monday, great. If not, I'll pick the dates, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Franklin, did you have anything else?
Nothing concerning the case. Ms. Campbell, my cell phone just died, but I'll probably give you a call this afternoon just to recap things.
Okay.
So there's one other thing that needs to happen, Ms. Campbell. I need to have you speak with Ms. Crawford. You may see her on the screen there. She's going to give you your probation reporting information, because there's a place you need to go to get signed up with probation. She needs to share that with you. So I'm going to move you and your mom and Ms. Crawford into that breakout room so you all can talk about it, because one of you is going to need to write it down. You do not want to miss your
Mama.
probation. I notice you're outside, so I'm guessing mom's going to write it down. So you'll have that info. Make sure you do show up with probation. That'll be sometime next week, because I will not be signing your sentence until I get those dates from Mr. Franklin. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right. Break out the room. Here we go.
I didn't get the notification.
It hasn't happened yet. I'm slow. This
Oh, okay.
technology is overwhelming. It makes me sweat. All right, here it goes. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you again, Ms. Rolak, for serving as the intermediary between us and Mr. Hyde.
You're welcome, Judge.
All right, we'll go off the record with Ms. Campbell. And the only other matter we have is Tammy Brooks, AKA Tommy Smith. Ms. Hall was giving me a little bit of an update only because I asked, what are we doing today? Are you expecting her? Do we need her? Is she dialing in through your dead cell phone?
She said she was gonna dial in. She didn't feel comfortable coming. She would have had to bring her 3 children with her.
Okay.
So I texted her the link and everything yesterday.
Okay.
So
Well, she's not late. Well, it's 1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I can tell you, we were 2/3 of the way through an offer rather. This was the anger management.
Basically PTI.
Basically a PTI situation, but I was discussing stuff with her yesterday. She's not gonna accept, at least not today.
You know, so what?
The virtual, the offer, that's where we left off yesterday. So I don't know if she would have rethought things by the time she came in today, but based on my conversation yesterday, I don't expect us to have an agreement.
Okay.
So
should we move this to a trial calendar?
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. But we'll wait for a minute. I'll give you a chance to reach out to Ms. Brooks to see if she is going to dial in, unless she told you because I'm not accepting it. I'm not that.
No, she told me she would dial in.
Okay.
So I'll call my men's cell phone real quick.
All right.
If I can call from the court cell phone.
Mr. Loudermilk says thank you to everyone. That's the guy with the Z case. Remember yesterday?
Oh, the Z case.
The
Oh,
Z
yeah.
case, this young
That we know
criminal
about.
solicitation from like
Right,
1842.
right.
He wrote this email to Ms. Nelson saying, I'm so impressed. It's refreshing to see professionalism. It's a rare commodity in today's world. Please thank the prosecutor and the public defender. There you go.
He's welcome.
Yeah. So I'm happy waiting for a couple minutes. Otherwise, given what she told you, it seems like if she has a change of heart, we can always add her to another calendar if she wants to sort things out.
Yeah, if we sort things out, we could probably just end up just having you an actual agreement to sign.
Right, a BPTI agreement. Ms. Hall, anything you want to add about keep wanting to say Tommy Smith, Ms. Brooks's case? I mean, it's not heading the direction that you had thought it might, but that's not what you did.
Right. No, I asked Ms. Nelson, was this a notice now?
Interesting. It was. Right, good. Come on.
Yes, it was.
So the only thing I'll add is a bench warrant if she don't show up.
Well, and she was permitted to appear virtually, and that was the gist of it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but she not.
Yeah, we understand that portion of things, Judge, but what I would argue is that she's had consistent discussions with me. I've always been getting in contact with her, I'm calling from a block number, but she's not familiar with Mr. Church. And whether she physically hopped on and just listened to me say, hey, she's not accepting the plea today. I mean, I know you have a duty to attend your court dates and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to lessen that, but to put her back in custody for that doesn't seem to be fair.
So why don't you, over the next few days, track her down, figure out why she wasn't here, and let me know. By here, I mean connecting remotely. My point is not she didn't walk through the doors,
Right.
because the notice that went out was you don't have to show up, but then you need to appear remotely, so call you order.
Correct.
So just figure out what the deal was, and for now, we're moving to a trial calendar, but we need to clear up why she wasn't able. It could be Ms. Nelson, she's the only one who's not on mute.
And the other thing I would say, she told me yesterday during our conversation, she stated that she didn't get the notice of mail. She didn't know. I told her last week that we have a court date coming up on the 18th, and I called her yesterday and reminded her. So.
I would suggest that if she's not getting notice, that she make sure that she submits a address change form if she did not get notice.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm checking now.
Got an address, Thomasville Boulevard, but there's no apartment number, so
Then maybe the reason why. Okay.
there's no part of it.
When we spoke to the victim last night, he said he was gonna be appearing with the defendant by her side, so I'm sure she intended to appear.
Interesting. Okay, one of those cases.
Right.
Well, let's just figure out how to stay in touch with her, in terms of court notices.
Yes, sir.
I trust you've got your own channel. That's not the channel I need. But we do want her to show up virtually or in person when she's supposed to. So we just need a more complete address or the correct address. And if that's what we can get from her, I think that'll suffice. Now, we'll move it to a trial calendar. And if something develops before then, we can take that up at any point.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm gonna, you all should stay here. Ms. Nelson, anything else?
No, not that I can think of, Judge.
Okay, Ms. Crawford,
No, Judge, that's it.
are you getting our calendars?
Say it again, Judge, I didn't hear you.
Are you receiving our calendars?
For some reason, when I go and search the calendar for the day, I search it via the date and it's not pulling up on that date. So I had to get Ms. Nelson to send them to me again, but when I went back, it's not pulling it up, but I did go ahead and have the one for the 23rd and the 29th. I have those two for next week and the week following.
All right, good. Ms. Rolak, anything else?
No, Judge. Okay, thank you.
Well, I'm gonna end the call.
I have one question while Ms. Nelson's on the phone.